What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a vlog with the Z in it. Now, we're not going to be working on the Z. However, I want to talk to something about the Z, something that I've seen a lot in the forums recently and also on the Z32 enthusiast page on Facebook and everything, and that is engine swaps for the 300ZX. Now, one popular one that everybody wants to talk about is an RB26 motor into the 300ZX and why that's beneficial and not beneficial. So let's go over the RB26 and the VG next to each other a little bit. They were both designed around the same time. So they were designed using the same technology and everything like that. And really, you know, the VG is a V6, whereas the RB26 is an inline 2.6 liter. And what that actually does is, because the VG is a little bit more up here, the weight distribution on the front end actually does change. Even though the weight might be different of the actual block, how it mounts in the engine bay and over the suspension actually does have a dramatic effect. And that's one thing that people don't realize when they just consider the overall weight instead of where the weight sits relative to the wheels. Now, some people say, oh, well, you can adjust the caster. But honestly, in these cars, there's not that, you can adjust the caster a little bit, especially if you do have the aftermarket tension rods, but it won't make up for that difference. So that's one thing you really have to consider. And then there's also the reliability factor. Yeah, people say the VG isn't reliable, you know, but that just comes with modding any car. The minute you start modifying a car, you are taking the reliability and literally throwing it out of the window. There's no real point in bringing that up, period. Now, if you're talking about the strength of the block, the RB26, this is not something I've personally experienced, but this is just from reading people who have actually done the swap. And some people like it because it has that RB26, the legendary skyline, you know, heritage of the motor. It sounds good, you know, it's popular. It's over here in America, it's like finding a diamond. But when it comes down to it, the reliability factor, from what I've heard, is equal or less than the VG motor. And also, people have started modifying them side by side who had a modified VG and started modifying an RB26, is that when you're doing it side by side, the VG actually produces more torque. And yeah, and about the same horsepower. So you're really trading something that to me isn't worth it. So to me, honestly, an RB26 swap into a 300ZX is something I would never do. And also, you do eliminate a lot of room. People think that, yeah, I made a video about how little room there actually is under here, but if you do an RB26 swap, you actually lose even more in the front. You gain a little bit on the sides. You can put a bigger turbo, but you can do that already with this. If you just, you know, get rid of a lot of the stuff that isn't even really needed anymore, you can do a huge single turbo in these, and it just ruins what the car was supposed to be. Like, people like doing those swaps, and I get it, but for me, it's all about also keeping the heritage of the 300ZX. Yes, the previous models were inline sixes and everything, but the 300ZX isn't. It's just like doing an LS swap in an RX-7. It gets rid of the point of the car and how they built the car. So, you know, another popular swap that's being discussed, and you've seen one YouTuber has done it, Mike, in his 300ZX, is the SR20 swap. Now, for me, SR20 is a cool motor in a 240. You know, for an S chassis, that's absolutely fine. The things I don't like about that is you're getting rid of a lot of displacement, a lot of potential. Yeah, those motors can run up to 500-600 horsepower, but so can this. Much simpler, actually. And yeah, you're getting rid of a lot of weight, you're saving a lot of stuff, you're getting a lot of room, and you are sticking a Nissan motor with a Nissan, so I approve of that. That's all good. But I don't know, something about these cars, Z in general, just needs a 6-cylinder in it, you know? So it's, and also, oh yeah, I think that the SR20s just sound terrible. I think they're the most terrible sounding motors you can ever buy. I'd almost kind of prefer like a S2000 motor over an SR20 sound. Not like performance-wise, I choose the SR20, but sound-wise, I choose VTEC, which is terrible thing to say. It kind of hurts a little bit to say that. Anyway, another popular topic of engine swaps for this car is a 2JZ. Now that is an inline six that I would consider doing just because of how bulletproof that engine is. It actually fits better in the engine bay than an RB26. It'll produce more power. It's reliable as all hell, and doing the engine mounts for that actually isn't too bad. You can buy engine mounts for that and then just weld them onto the side or custom fab them up pretty easy. SR20 is a very complicated motor to mount in there because the motor mounts aren't very common. You have to do even more fab. You really have to bring everything out and stuff, and then you gotta make sure those are strong, or else you're just gonna crap out a motor. But the 2JZ is big enough that it'll fit perfectly. They're bulletproof, and with just the technology you can get in ECU and how people can just build you a wiring harness. There's a website that will custom make a 2JZ wiring harness into a 300ZX, and then with all the aftermarket support with it, especially with the engine management systems, Haltech, it's literally plug and play. And besides adapting up the motor to the transmission, which is probably even that's not that difficult. I mean, all this is difficult, but in like the grand spectrum of switching out motors and doing engine swaps, it's probably like the easiest one to do. And then there's always the LS swap. People love putting LS in everything because that block is so small and it produces so much power for its size, and it's reliable. It's a good old push rod V8, American Muscle Corvette, and they perform. However, once again, that brings me back to kind of sticking to the heritage a little bit of it at least being a 6-cylinder, which is blasphemy because a 2JZ is Toyota. But that's something for to each their own. It's your car, you do what you want to do with it. However, there's just two engines I'd ever consider swapping in here besides another VG. So there'd be the 2JZ, and what about a rotary? What if we put in a rotary engine in here? Now that's an interesting one. All jokes aside about doing a rotary swap in this car is actually going to stay VG for quite a long time. I really do enjoy this motor, and I'm having fun building and learning about it, and I just love this car, and so I don't really plan on changing that. If I were to do anything serious like that, I would just buy a rolling chassis and just start mocking everything up. So it would be a car even without a motor, and so that's just something that I want to talk about, is that don't just assume that doing an engine swap is going to make the car better. Just do your research on it, learn everything that can go wrong and why they will go wrong. So if you do decide to do that, because it's something you want to do, guys, don't forget, this is your car. You do what you want to do to your car. Don't let anybody stop you. If it's your vision, it's your dream, do it. It's not the way I feel, but I appreciate a good build. If you build a good car, everybody's gonna dig it, regardless of if you put, a K20 motor in a freaking diesel truck. Maybe that was a little over exaggeration, but if you build the car right, you're gonna get a following from it. People are gonna appreciate all the work, blood, sweat, and tear you put into the car, making it your own. It's your statement, your way of life. You do what you have to do. But anyways, that's where I'm gonna call this video. I'm sorry there's no work to be done, but as I said before, unfortunately I'm not in a position right now with doing school and not working to really put that much money forward on the car. I'm gonna have to kind of worry about my future. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and always consider subscribing and down here. So thumbs up, boys. Let's go.